Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into something that sounds complicated, but it's really a super powerful tool for understanding the world. It's called game theory, and it helps us see the hidden rules behind some of the biggest decisions people and companies make. So, have you ever looked at two rival companies just hammering each other in a price war and wondered, why? It seems like they're both losing. Or why politicians spend a fortune on attack ads that basically just cancel each other out. It feels like a huge, irrational mistake. But what if it isn't a mistake at all? What if it's actually perfectly logical?
Exactly. It's not bad luck, and it's not bad business. It's a game, a strategic game. And once you learn the rules of that game, you suddenly see the logic behind every single move.
Okay, so first up, let's break down the absolute fundamentals. We're going to learn how to look at any strategic situation and figure out what's really going on under the hood. So, what is game theory? At its heart, it's a way to make better decisions when your success, your payoff, depends on what someone else does. That's the key word right there, interdependence. This isn't about you making a choice in a bubble. It's about figuring out your best move when your results are tangled up with the moves of other people. And every single strategic game, whether it's a huge corporate merger or just you and a friend deciding where to eat, it really just boils down to three things. You've got the players, the people making the choices, you've got the strategies, all the possible moves they can make, and you've got the payoffs, what each player gets for every possible combination of moves. And this right here, this is what we call a payoff matrix. It's kind of the official game board for game theory. It's actually super simple to read. Player A's choices are the rows, up or down. Player B's choices are the columns, left or right. You just find where their choices intersect to see what happens. So if player A chooses up and player B chooses left, we look at that top left box. Player A gets a payoff of 10 and player B gets 20. Simple as that. It maps out every single possibility. All right, and that brings us to maybe the most famous idea in all of game theory, the prisoner's dilemma. This is where things get really interesting because we see how a bunch of smart people, all making what seem like the best possible decisions for themselves, can end up in a place that's actually pretty terrible for everybody. Let's look at this classic example, the advertising game. We've got two firms, A and B. Now, if they both advertise, they just end up stealing each other's customers, and they each walk away with a profit of $4 million. If neither of them advertises, they both save a ton of money and make $10 million each. That looks pretty good, right? But if only one of them advertises, they completely dominate the market and score a massive $20 million, while the other guy gets left with just $1 million in scraps. So, what do?
Let's get inside the head of Firm A's CEO. She's looking at this board and thinking, okay, what's my best move? She reasons it out like this. Well, if Firm B decides to advertise, I should definitely advertise too. Making $4 million is way better than making $1 million. Okay, but what if Firm B doesn't advertise? Well, then I should still advertise because making $20 million is a whole lot better than making 10.
See what's happening? No matter what Firm A thinks its rival is going to do, its own best move is always to advertise. That's what we call a dominant strategy. And here's the kicker. The game is perfectly symmetrical. So Firm B is sitting in its own boardroom, running the exact same numbers and coming to the exact same conclusion. And so, inevitably, both firms are pushed by their own rational self-interest into this one single box. They both advertise. They both get $4 million, all while they can both clearly see that beautiful, cooperative $10 million outcome just sitting there, totally achievable, if only they could trust each other not to defect. This inescapable trap actually has a name. It's called a Nash equilibrium. And what makes it an equilibrium is that it's stable. Once you're in that box, no single player can make themselves better off by changing their move on their own. Just think about it. If Firm A is in that box and suddenly decides to stop advertising, what happens? Their profit plummets from $4 million all the way down to 1. They're stuck. They're locked in. And this right here, this is the dilemma at the heart of it all. What's rational for the individual leads to the Nash equilibrium, but the cooperative choice is clearly better for the group. The problem is trust. When you're playing a one-time game where there's no tomorrow, the temptation to betray any deal is just too strong to resist.
But
Here's the thing. Most of life and most of business isn't a one-shot game, is it? You compete against the same people day after day, year after year. So what happens when you start playing the long game? Well, that's when everything can change.
So far, we've been talking about a one-shot game. You make your move, you get your payoff, game over. But when you switch to a repeated game, the future suddenly casts a long shadow over the present. Every choice you make today has consequences for tomorrow, and that completely changes the math. This opens the door for brand new strategies, strategies that have a memory. A player can now adopt what's called a trigger strategy. It's basically saying, hey, I'll cooperate with you, and we'll both do great, but the second you cheat me, the deal is off forever. It triggers a punishment, and I will go back to competing against you in every single round from here on out. It's like an eye for the long haul. Let's see how this works in a pricing game. Two firms agree to keep prices high. As long as they cooperate, they each make a nice, steady $10 million each period. But man, look at that temptation. Firm A could suddenly slash its price, steal all the business for one period, and walk away with a massive, one-time payout of $50 million. $50 million. That is a huge, immediate reward for stabbing your rival in the back. In a one-shot game, you'd take that deal in a heartbeat. But remember, we're playing the long game now, and betrayal has consequences. So what's the other option worth? Well, sticking to the deal gets you $10 million period. After the period, the source material actually does the financial calculation, and when you add up all those future profits and account for time, the total value of that long-term cooperation adds up to $35 million. And this brings us to the most important insight of the entire long game. The quick payoff for cheating is $50 million. The long-term reward for cooperating is only $35 million. So in this specific case, the threat of future punishment, it's not enough. Cheating still pays off. But what if the numbers were a little different? What if that cooperation was worth, say, $60 million over time? All of a sudden, the entire calculation flips. The threat becomes real, and cooperation happens, not because of trust or friendship, but because the cold, hard math says that staying in the game is worth more than a quick score. Okay, so once you really get this core idea, this constant battle between the short-term win from cheating and the long-term value of cooperation, you're going to start seeing these games playing out absolutely everywhere.
I mean, you see it in business pricing, obviously, but think about a product guarantee. That's just a company playing a long game with you, the customer. You see it in negotiations between a manager and an employee. You see it in international diplomacy. Really, you see it in any kind of bargaining, where the relationship might continue tomorrow. So, I'll just leave you with this thought. The world is just filled with these strategic games where what you get depends on what someone else decides to do. But now you know the rules. You know to look for the players, the strategies, and the payoffs. So the question is, what games are you going to start seeing all around you? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.